Well, in a campaign rally speeches, Workers' Party Chairman Sylvia Lim used to say that on polling day, the clouds will clear and we will all see a clear blue sky, referring, of course, to her party colors. Indeed, the clouds have cleared, but it's not a clear blue sky, you see. It's actually white, quite white. The haze has yet to clear, even as the dust is finally settling on what must certainly be one of the most anticlimactic general elections of our time. It appears we are already gaining some clarity with the announcement of the new cabinet lineup today, which features 3 coordinating ministers and a slightly enlarged cabinet. If you include the ministers of state and the other office bearers, it's a much, much larger number of office bearers. Now, how will all this, and especially this reshuffle in cabinet, prepare us for the challenges ahead? The electorate clearly delivered a whopping victory to the PAP, to the Prime Minister. He asked for it. A strong mandate with almost 70% of the votes, about 10% more than what they received in 2011. From what I gather, even the PAP was taken aback by the results. Some have quipped that a freak election result that the PAP leaders often warn us about could actually be in favor of the PAP. So what happened here? Many reasons were postulated. Savvy political strategy by the PAP with the Aljunied Hougang Punggol East Town Council, affectionately known as the AHP-ETC, at the center of it. A powerful vote from the silver generation, the impeccable Jubilee timing, the halo effect of the founding leader, or a poster boy Prime Minister omnipresent across the island. The list goes on. Theories see no end. Pontification is actually quite pointless. The tribe has spoken, and the die has been cast. The PAP is here to rule for the next 5 years, and with a strong mandate. The question on our minds has shifted from how did it happen to so what now? One side is fearful that the PAP will now go back to its old ways. What does it mean? Top down, we know best style, and not listening enough. The other side is more optimistic and says, surely it cannot be business as usual for a PAP humbled by their landslide victory. It's interesting that the words, "we are humbled by your support," featured prominently in many PAP victory speeches. Expectations have gone up. Humility, in the truest sense of the word, means being prepared to listen respectfully and genuinely, even to the 30% who may not or who didn't vote for the PAP. An increasingly engaged populace is watching which way the ruling party will tilt in the next few years. One thing for sure, this will have a bearing on how the votes will be cast in the next general election. The other key question is what will happen now to the opposition parties? Will they become demoralized and lose steam, or will they see defeat as an opportunity to continue with the momentum and become more active and visible in the next 5 years? Or will the outcome of this GE become the catalyst for potent new players to emerge? Is the electorate going to change? If so, how? Will the social media scene force a shift in political play? Are we likely to see a more mature and vibrant civil society? If so, why? Welcome to the Swan Song in IQ's special series of GE 2015 debates. I'm Vishwa Sadashivan. You love our panel today. I love them, especially this lovely lady, Margie. Her full name is Margaret Thomas. Now, these are men and a woman of heart and head and a miracle fiber called courage to speak their mind and be challenged. First up, Inderjit Singh. Entrepreneur, well, now full-time, a PAP member of parliament for 19 years. He was known for his hard work and hard-hitting speeches in the House. Certainly one of the most vocal and respected backbenchers we've had. You can count on Inderjit to say it as it is and stand by it. My friend, I'm counting on you to give us an honest ringside perspective.
We'll see.
The inside story. Our second panelist is a socio-political activist, whatever that means. He comes by the name, or he goes by the name, Alex Au. Many people say he's an icon in his own right. I think he's an icon. He writes well, he thinks well. That's quite rare these days. Alex is no stranger to Singapore's socio-political media. social media, nor is he to controversy. He's had his own run-ins with the powers that be, but Alex stands bravely and admirably by his conviction. Great to have you with us, Alex. Our third panelist is author, journalist Margaret Thomas, affectionately known as Margie. And that's how we shall call her today. She has over 3 decades of print and online media experience to her name. She started journalism when she was 12. She's held senior editorial positions at the Business Times, the Singapore Monitor, and Today, and was in the founding team of SPH's internet arm, Asia One. When Margie isn't busy writing, she is a champion of women's issues with Aware. Thanks for making time, Margie. Last but certainly not least, please welcome economist Dr. Walter Teixeira, a senior lecturer at Unisim College, whose research interests are in behavioral and experimental economics, whatever that means, and who more recently earned respect for his incisive and honest analysis of the GE. I'm counting on you to leverage on academic immunity to say it as it is, Walter. In studio, we have a delightful and formidable audience. At least they look that way, whose collective insights we are eager to tap on in our discussion today. This discussion is being streamed live, so do call in with your questions on 6516-2003 or text in via Poll Everywhere. You will find the links on our site. Okay, now let's get this going. Indrajit, could I ask you the first question? We've had the announcement of the new cabinet lineup by PM today, just a couple of hours ago. Personally, I think it's a very interesting lineup. I think it's very encouraging. I think it would instill confidence. There's an interesting balance of seasoned ministers, especially the 3 coordinating ministers. A new portfolio has been created, coordinating ministers. DPM Teo Chee Hean for safety and security, DPM Tharman overseeing social and economic policies, and a third person, Corbin Wan, who is now coordinating minister for infrastructure, right? He's also minister for transport. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen to him. Now he's minister for transport, right? So interestingly, we have that, and we have got 2 very new faces holding acting minister positions, Ng Chee Meng and Ong Ye Kung. Both of them are ministers for education. Right, so the education portfolio is been expanded. Now, what's your sense of this, in terms of how ready would this cabinet be in achieving PM's desire for transition and for delivering the goods?
I think it's the first time we are seeing the cabinet organized this way. I mean, if you look at it in the organizational chart, you have 3 coordinating ministers reporting to PM and a bunch of ministers reporting to each of the coordinating ministers. In this structure, actually, to me, it seems that PM is going to free himself up to groom the new ministers with the style that I think the Singaporeans would like to see. And at this GE, PM did display his style, which was well liked, from the outcome that we have seen and from the comments that we have heard. And
you did say PM's ratings went up.
It went up, and I think it did, and that did help in the result. So he can free himself up and leaving the technicalities of running ministries to the coordinating ministers. And at the same time, giving a lot more focus for the coordinating ministers to keep an eye and to groom, to actually in a way train the new ministers to quickly come on board and become effective in their own right. So it's very interesting, and I expect PM to play more of a mentorship role in this structure, with his 3 coordinating ministers spending a lot more time on the technical aspects of running the ministries, because we cannot ignore that too. We have many issues that we have to work on.
And you can't get these wrong.
And you can't get this wrong. We have not much time to do this. So we'll go through some very interesting times in the next few years, and that is also because I think the 4th generation leadership is already too late entering Parliament. The future ministers and prime ministers should have come in at the at the 2011
And that's what
election.
PM did emphasize. There's no time.
No time.
There's absolutely no time. We need to push ahead. Now, the question I guess I have is the whole idea of coordinating ministers. One is they will help to take the load off PM in terms of hands-on looking at the policies and work of the ministries. But it also suggests that there is an acknowledgement that policies are no more in silos. Issues are no more in silos. There's a lot of interdepartmental, interministerial issues cropping up. Would you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think the issue is more of an amount of consultation that used to go on in the past. And this will force the consultation one step down before the ministers meet in cabinet. So the coordinating ministers will have time to thrash out these issues, have a lot more in-depth discussions, so that by the time it goes to cabinet, they have policies that maybe can have, discussion to the point that it's almost, a final good policy that can come out. So this will force that kind of discussion, which I believe was lacking, as was shown in the 2011, run-up to the 2011 elections, where many policies, in a way, I call it, there were some policy mistakes that the government made. And that was because there was not enough of this kind of discussion and consultation.
Would you say that this is an acknowledgement of those policy errors?
Well, some of us think there were errors, but I don't think so. There's full acknowledgement yet. But I think in spirit with the structure we have now, PM realizes that we cannot make the same mistakes again in the past. So he's going to leave it to his 3 coordinating ministers. Interestingly, there are also very important people in the PAP, the chairman and 2 deputy secretary generals. So we have a very strong group now that is not just running government but also preparing leaders for the next generation.
Yeah. Walter, I saw you nodding when I talked about the dynamics of the issues, the complexity of the issues. Would you want to comment on that as an economist?
Sure. I mean, if you take a couple of issues, for example, if you take retirement policy, right? Retirement policy is something which is quite strongly housed under CPF Board and Ministry of Manpower as the parent agency, but it's quite clear that the decisions you make there have repercussions on the Ministry of Health, there are repercussions on Ministry of Social and Family Development, because if you have low-income elderly, that's an issue they have to deal with. So there are a lot of different bodies which actually have to interact to get a good policy out. So I see these new appointments, the coordinating appointments, as a way of trying to say that now there's a new person who's going to be accountable and responsible for making sure that coordination failures don't happen. Yeah? I mean, if you look at 2011 GE and the events before that, a lot of people believed that there were some coordination failures regarding growth of the population and the lack of the infrastructure keeping up. And that can only occur when you have ministries responsible for growing the economy, not coordinating in the fullest extent with the ministries responsible for building the infrastructure. So I think now you have somebody to blame in a way if these things happen again, if these problems happen again.
Right, right. Margie, we are seeing for the first time. I'm not asking you this because you're a woman. I'm asking you this because this is something that matters to you, that it's not tokenism. We have a woman, for the first time in 50 years, we have a woman who is holding a cabinet position with a portfolio, right? Grace Fu, MCCY. Is this good enough, or is it tokenism?
No, I mean, I'm torn between feeling I should throw up my arms and say, hallelujah, finally, but saying, great, but predictably, it's community youth, culture community youth, but one of the softer ministries, but that's an important area. But just before the elections, Aware put out this list. We said to political parties, this is how you can win the vote of women, and we gave 5 issues, and one of them, the top one, was get more women into leadership, and the cabinet needs to set the tone. And we're not saying 50-50, but 20-30%. So you've got a cabinet of 20, which means 4, 5, 6 women. They're not incapable women out there. I mean, Grace Fu, for instance, was CFO at PSA and quite capable of...
CEO of PSA International. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And before that, she was CEO of... So she knows money. And there are many other competent women. But one thing occurred to me, perhaps, we're getting our leaders through the military, and women don't do a national service. So you know.
Well, hopefully military is not the only source of office holders in future. But I think my own sense of it is it is a signal. It is a signal, an acknowledgement, and there are others who are in the pipeline who I think could very well.
Oh yeah, it's to be welcome for sure.
Yeah.
You know, but honestly, by 2015, it's taken us so long to just get to here.
Well, talking about it's taken us so long to get here, Alex, I'd like to quote you, DPM Tharman, on the 13th of September, soon after the GE. He said this, and it's a very interesting quote. He said this: "I think we need a more reflective attitude each time after each election, and how the opposition can continue to play a constructive and positive role in Singapore politics, as they must. We are a plural society. We must remain a society where there are diverse voices and views, not just during elections, but including elections. The opposition plays a critical role in advancing Singapore." This is not what you typically hear from a senior member of the PAP. But he said it, nevertheless. He said it 2 days after the GE. Right? Now, what do you make of it?
To a large extent, these are kind of boilerplate statements. I mean, you still hear words like constructive role. It's something we've heard for 50 years. Why do we say constructive role? In a sense, really, he's right. It certainly is a time for reflection. Everybody, including the PAP, obviously should take this opportunity and reassess where they stand and how to go forward, and what are the effects of what they are about to do next. But I don't think we should so narrowly frame other parties, like the opposition parties or civil society or whatever, in terms of this is what you ought to be doing, rather than give people the autonomy to choose what kind of role they want to play, what kind of proposals they want to push up. And so that again is also very, in my view, very limiting. Certainly, all sorts of groups of people or individuals in Singapore should have a role to play. They will choose for themselves what role to play. And whether they are effective or not is largely based on how they go about what they want to do.
So, especially now, when you look at the current cabinet, my own view, even though PM has said during the election hustings that we are having a lot more people from the private sector, honestly, when you look at the nature and the makeup of cabinet, you're seeing people who are essentially establishment, right? So when you talk about, diversity of views and a contest of ideas, are we really going to be having that kind of diversity of views and contest of ideas, which is what we need today?
Absolutely.
When you have people from the same pool coming in, not that they're not capable, but can we afford that? Now, if you can't have it within cabinet, then you must have it in Parliament. If you don't have it in Parliament, then you must certainly have it in civil society. You must have it in out there, NGOs, think tanks, and intellectual climate. The problem is I don't think we are making significant steps in that direction. Indigit, your view?
Yeah, I think we need to look at the cabinet at the next level too. What PM has done this time is to accelerate the training of some of them who potentially could become the future Prime Minister, the fourth generation Prime Minister. And these are from the establishment. But if you look at the next level, there are many more who did not come from the...
People like Kopo Kun.
Kopo Kun is one. In running, I think, it's also someone who came from the private sector. Janin Putucherry was there, Desmond and so. So if you look at that next group of people, and I think some of them will form hold key positions in the fourth generation leadership. But for now, because we are already quite late in the process, he has to at least stress his potential prime ministers in key ministries. And the only way right now, because we've lost a lot of time, is to put them through the process, and hopefully they all make it. but I would say it's a sink or swim situation for some of them, and they have to perform, and hopefully they do, and one of them may emerge as a prime minister. And I don't think so. The prime minister, future prime minister, came in the last election. He could have come in this election too. So some of the very new ones could potentially.
In fact, PM sort of indicated that
correct,
in one
yeah.
of his speeches.
So therefore, he's in a hurry to get that done. But at the same time, in that future generation cabinet, in the fourth generation cabinet, we'll have many from the private sector.